Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for coming. We assumed this government almost a year back. We are completing 1 year in power. As a result of a successful vote of no confidence against the then government. To prevent that vote of no confidence, different unconstitutional actions were taken by Imran Khan's government. His collaborators were the President of Pakistan and the then Deputy Speaker. Around midnight, the decisions of dissolution of assembly and other decisions were overturned by the Supreme Court. But that fateful night, the Constitution was undermined, violated, and thankfully, Supreme Court intervention set the things right, and we are here in the government today. So much has happened over the last 1 year. The journey, political journey of as an opposition in opposition. Imran Khan's political journey started with the cipher, and today, Shri Mazari has written a letter to the United States for help because there are violations of human rights in Pakistan and so many other issues she has raised. A country which was being accused of a conspiracy against Pakistan or conspiracy against Imran Khan's government, the same people are now asking for help and rescue from the perpetrators of Bairuni Sazish or the government of Donald Lu. So this is the sum total of Imran Khan's journey from his dismissal from the government and today his SOS to the United States. I think this is the most apt definition of what has happened in the last 1 year or the behavior of PTI and its leader Imran Khan. Nowhere in the world an accused has ever refused to appear in the court. This is being seen on television screen or being witnessed by everyone almost for last so many weeks that Imran refuses to appear in the court on different pretexts, security reasons or the reasons of being a victim or so this is and then his appearance in the court is accepted while he's still sitting in the car, and he actually attacks the courts, or the courts are mobbed by his supporters. Whenever he appears in the court is intimidated. They come under pressure, they face threats, and when police is sent to his residence to arrest him and produce him in the court, the police is attacked with Molotov cocktail, firing, and at least 70 to 80 police officers, senior police officers including, who were injured trying to arrest him. There was a pitched battle outside his house. So this has never happened in Pakistan. During his regime and in the past also, opposition workers, leaders were arrested, and they always surrendered in a very graceful manner, in a dignified manner as political workers to whatever victimization was taking place. They never physically contested their arrest, never abused or maligned the courts. In last 4 years of his rule, when he was the Prime Minister, almost the whole of top leadership of PMLN was arrested. Our leader, Nawaz Sharif, was arrested. He came back from UK to surrender. His daughter was arrested. The present Prime Minister was arrested. His son was arrested. Their nephews were arrested. But never there was a sort of resistance to being arrested. I was picked up from Embassy Road and remained in jail for almost 6 months. My wife appears in the court. Almost 3 years. My wife, my son. So the victimization of the opposition was unprecedented. We have checkered history, political history of in our country, where politicians were victimized during martial laws, during military governments. But this sort of victimization and hounding was never there. Politicians were hanged. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was hanged. It was a judicial murder. Bibi was martyred by Benazir Bhutto was martyred by the terrorists. Nawaz Sharif was removed from government thrice. But we never resorted to the methods or sort of things which are taking place and have taken place in last 3-4 weeks, violating the law, violating the constitution. So we are actually governing this country, the present government, under circumstances which are pretty difficult, both administratively speaking, financially speaking, and obviously, ultimately, politically speaking also. So this is the backdrop in which we are at the moment governing the country and trying to give the best. We do realize that the political capital we had when we took over, or when we moved the vote of no confidence, over the period it has depleted. We have paid a cost. We had the option of after the dissolution of the assembly or after the vote of no confidence to dissolve the assembly and call for new elections. But we were in the middle of a negotiating arrangement with the IMF, and interim government perhaps could not do that as effectively as a government in power, elected government in power. So that was a difficult decision, and we decided to risk our political capital and stay in the government despite the fact that we knew the risk of losing the political capital is there or was there. Even today, we are trying to manage the situation, and every day there is a crisis precipitated by Imran Khan, and we are handling it. And inshallah, we'll come out of it successfully. And governance in the coming days, coming weeks, coming months, the economic situation, all these things which are the moment at peril will improve, inshallah. I'm ready for questions.
Thank you. Before we open the floor for questions and answers, we would like you to see a video that when the police went to arrest Mr. Khan to comply with the orders of the court, he just not only defied the orders, violated the law, but also attacked the policemen, and also how he used women and children as human shield. So once you watch this video, and then we'll open the floor for questions and answers. And I'll just give the names, and you please briefly introduce yourself, your outfit, and then we start the question. So I'll start with BBC, Charlotte Times. Sorry? Are you from BBC?
No, Times.
Times, okay. So we start with you, Charlotte.
I don't have a question.
You don't have a question. Sophia?
I'm
CNN.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm the Pakistan producer for CNN. I think from the video that we've just seen, and from a lot of videos that we're seeing generally from people on social media, there's clearly a lot of civil unrest in this country. My question is, Imran Khan had tweeted on Tuesday night in the midst of all that chaos that he's willing to engage in talks. And I recall the Prime Minister had also said on Monday, and I know a lot has happened since then, Monday the 13th, that he was willing to engage in some semblance of talks. Again, a lot has happened since then, but Is there reluctance on the PTI side, or is it from the government side? Is there any possibility whatsoever that talks can take place at all with all of the political stakeholders as of right now?
Thank you. Since last 1 year, and even when he was in power, we made an offer of building up some sort of consensus, at least on our economic policies. Now that offer was rejected and spurned by the then Prime Minister. During last 1 year, he has offered to talk several times with the establishment, with the military leadership, but not the political leadership. That is one. Despite the fact that opposition or the present government was willing to talk on so many occasions in last 1 year, but he kept on insisting and went to the extent of that time trying to approach the present leadership of Pakistan Army, and they are not responding. I want to talk to them, I want to meet them. And before that, he spoke to or approached through the President, General Bajwa, met him twice, tried to negotiate with him, even offered him extension for life. It is on record. Despite all that, he has not materially offered anything to the present government for a dialogue or for some sort of negotiations on that. I'll just add one thing to it. We are ready to talk for the sake of peace in our country, for sake of not for only the present government, but the coming generations, that we must have some sort of consensus on major issues which we are facing for last so many decades. We are not in favor of a transactional dialogue. We need something which is comprehensive, which covers everything. There are so many issues. One can debate on that and have perhaps a long debate on that. But in short, what I'm trying to say is that a comprehensive dialogue on the problems Pakistan is facing is always welcome. But transactional dialogue, which does not address the issues this nation is facing today, and perhaps the situation is getting worse by every passing day. So these issues, one must realize that these issues should be addressed as soon as possible.
Yes.
So a comprehensive dialogue, yes. A transactional dialogue, it will be a waste of time.
Minister Asif, Dina Hadid from National Public Radio. As you may be aware, Mr. Khan has made multiple interviews to Western media in particular to project his point of view of what's been happening in Pakistan. I'd love to just get your responses to some of the claims that he's made. First, he has claimed that the government is seeking to outlaw him, a claim that was echoed, to disqualify him, a claim that was echoed by Zalmay Khalilzad on Twitter.
Disqualify him?
To disqualify him
Okay.
publicly. He also alleges that there's even attempts to kill him or plans to kill him. I would love to get your responses on that. Just on holding the federal elections, is there a plan to hold the federal elections on time? And my final question, bear with me, is are you concerned that the political tensions now could spiral into more extensive or more violent clashes in the coming weeks or months, based on the very videos that you have aired right now? Thank you.
It's a bit lengthy question,
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Let's hope I can keep track of it. Violence, yes, there is every possibility that this violence can, escalate and get into an ugly situation. We are aware of that. That risk is always there, because Imran Khan is a desperate man. he has demonstrated the violence of the sort which we have witnessed in last few weeks. This has never happened in Pakistan. Violence has taken place during the military regimes, during General Zia regime, and before that during Ayub Khan's regime. But political governments have never resorted to violence against their opponents. Yes, there are victimization and cases and imprisonment, but this sort of violence from an opposition party, organized violence against the state machinery. So this is something which is unprecedented in our history, despite the problems we have had over the last 75 years. But this can spiral into something little obviously ugly, and but government has the power and the will to control any violence which is triggered by Imran Khan and his supporters. Coming to his allegation that IG Islamabad or IG Punjab or Chief Minister Punjab, they are conspiring to murder him. This whole thing is so scandalous. This allegation. He's just trying to create some sort of atmosphere where his followers are ready to believe anything he says. You know, it's like a cult. You know, the world has witnessed over decades and centuries where people have, the leaders have created cult, and people have followed them blindly, believing everything they say. So this sort of cult following is here in Pakistan also these days, but this will fizzle out, and this allegation of conspiring to murder him, I think this is stretching a bit too far. The sort of lies he has been fabricating over the last 1 year, starting with Cypher. I'll again say that on one hand he's he was accusing General Bajwa of conspiring against him or aiding his opponents, and on the other hand he was offering him extension for life, and then accusing the United States of America of conspiring against him, taking even names, and now he's again flirting with the American government through lobbyists, and approaching them for some sort of intervention or some sort of aid or help, because they are being victimized, so-called victimization of PTI in Pakistan. So he'll tell you one thing today, and tomorrow he'll tell you something which is diagonally opposite, completely opposite, So his utterances are completely irrational. Perhaps his followers do believe whatever he says, but most of the people have lost track of what he has been saying over the last 1 year.
Voice of America.
She had a third question, whether the government does plan to hold the national elections.
Obviously, national elections are due in October, and they will be held on time.
Now I will follow up on that question. They were due also on the 30th of April.
And there were no national elections, provincial elections.
Punjab provincial elections were due on 30th of April. Then
The CN has been taken by the Election Commission. They are, according to the Constitution, that is the body which is supposed to hold the elections and empowered to hold elections.
But that very order has been called into serious question. The IMF has rejected the claim that it has anything to do with holding of any constitutional practice in Pakistan, like holding of the Punjab elections, number one.
IMF?
Yeah.
No, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, they gave a press release.
Because this is a factor mentioned in the election order, that because of the understanding with the IMF, the government is unable to provide funding for the elections. That's number one. Number two, the prevailing law and order situation was cited in the Election Commission order. And in that order, the briefing about the security was given to the Election Commission on February 8th. And the incident cited in that briefing happened a week later on February 16th, the Jaffa Express bombing. So there are serious anomalies in this election order, and you're still defending it.
No, but let me, in last, since February, in last 1 month or couple of months, the situation, security situation has definitely deteriorated, you know. We lost a senior army officer day before yesterday to terrorism. The terror incidents have increased. They have escalated over the last 2-3 months. So that's not something, the evidence is there. That's not something which is something of our imagination or something which we have concocted or invented, you know. So security situation is there. I'm not aware of that, but definitely I'm aware of the fact that Ministry of Finance said that under the present circumstances, we are going through some very tough time, financially speaking. So we will not be able to provide funds for elections, which are, if you hold these elections now on 30th of April, and then again in October. So you are providing funds for the elections twice in a year. Secondly, the commitment which our army has at the moment because of the internal and external threats, they said that deployment for almost 1 month. It takes about a month to deploy forces for elections on polling stations, and especially the static duty. They have to take over the polling stations as it happened in 2018. You know, they manage the polling station. So that sort of duty, they showed their inability to man the polling stations. So these 3-4 reasons were stated by the Election Commission, and these reasons were given to them by the federal government. And based on these reasons, they have decided to postpone the elections till October, and they are given the new date, which coincides with the national elections, the federal elections.
G. Farah from AKB and DW.
My question is regarding the letter Shri Mizani has written to the Human Rights Commission. The concern is like in the initial they were like bringing up the sulfur issue and all that, and they were against the intervention. But now they are themselves
Seeking support from
the international organizations to intervene and resolve this issue. Where do you see this is taking our country to? Like, this is the right approach? Like, at first you were against their intervention, and now you are approaching them themselves?
You can add on to that.
This says in reference to the letter again. We do see maligning the image of Pakistan as far as the international forum is concerned. Pakistan is already in a very vulnerable stage, right? And we can't afford any such things. All the contradictory statements given by Mr. Khan in the past as well, they're not really making sense if you look into it, practically and pragmatically speaking. So what is going to be the government's plan of action as far as like a buffer strategy is concerned, as far as mitigating any negative impact on the country is concerned?
As I said earlier, that Madam Mazari, her party in last 1 year, almost for 7-8 months, they were accusing United States of America for dethroning Imran Khan. And they even took the name of an official in the State Department. Actually, I met this gentleman in September in the United States, and he tried to introduce himself to me that I'm Donald Lu. You are very well known in Pakistan. You don't need any introduction. So there is this sort of attitude. You know, I have the parliamentary career of almost 33 years. I have never gone to a foreign government whenever I was victimized, you know. I was imprisoned by General Musharraf. I was in Atak Fort. A political prisoner or a political worker cannot even imagine what sort of the cells and dungeons are there in Atak Fort. It was built in 1561 by Shahanshah Akbar. So we never appealed to a foreign government or United States of America. And after accusing them for almost a year of conspiring against PTI government, you then seek help from the same people, from the same country. So I think it's a disgrace for any political party or a political worker even to seek foreign help for whatever he's. I think my commitment to whatever I believe in should be sacrosanct, and that should be within the ambit of my commitment to my country, to my ideology, whatever is that. And seeking help from abroad is, I think, it's treacherous, and it amounts to me. It amounts to betraying my country. They can fight it out. We can all fight our battles within the ambit of within the norms, political norms of whatever we have in this country. I will never. Tomorrow, these people can even appeal to people across the border for help, you know, or some other countries who are. They actually declared the United States of America as enemy of PTI or enemy of, and now they, I think they can do it. They in this, if I can say that they're absolutely shameless, you know. That just few months back you were accusing a country of conspiring against your government, and now you are seeking help from the same country, hiring lobbyists over there. And people, the politicians over there, the government has not spoken, United States government has not spoken against Pakistan, or they have not commented on our situation, political situation in Pakistan. But there are politicians over there, or former diplomats over there who have commented in favor of Imran Khan and his party, which again, you know, they have lobbied over there, asked people over there to give statements in their favor, which again I think it's not very respectable for a political worker to go and seek help from abroad and ask the politicians over there to give statements in their favor. And you know, seeking help, and they are speaking, the politicians or congressmen or senators or diplomats are speaking in their favor. I think they should, those people who are commenting on the situation in Pakistan, they should also think that Pakistan's situation is, alhamdulillah, is much, much better. It's peaceful. We have our government. It's an independent country. What is happening in Kashmir and Palestine? Why don't they speak on that? What is happening over there? The genocide is taking place in on these two locations, you know. They should speak about that. Mr. Zalmay has spoken about Pakistan's situation. There are people, tens of thousands of Khans are in transit in Pakistan. They have become a liability for us. He should be speaking for them, that they should be sent to America as soon as possible. That is what the arrangement calls for. These people are in transit. Tens of thousands of people. There are close to 200,000 people in Pakistan who were brought to Pakistan after the fall of Kabul to Taliban's, and they're still here. Why don't they speak about them? Why don't Zalmay speaks about them? He belongs to Afghanistan. He owes it to them. He should speak about them. He should actually speak to his government about them, that they should be repatriated from Pakistan as soon as possible. Pakistan is already, burdened with 5 million Afghan refugees, they have actually swamped our economy over last 40 years. So we want to live in peace. We want to live in peace with Afghanistan, with our neighbors. But these liabilities, it's time that these liabilities which are on our shoulders, these liabilities should be liquidated.
Harun,
From Independent Urdu, coming back to the holding of elections question, are you, by defending the Election Commission's decision, not creating a very bad precedence constitutionally of delaying elections and not holding them within 90 days? And the second question is about this new task force that has been created. Do you have any details you can share about to stop criticism of establishment, the military and other news today on social media?
No task force has been created to whatever you were saying, I'm not aware of any task force. A committee has been formed, I'm aware of that, I think there are 4 or 5 members of those, whatever arrangement has been made. But no task force, I think task force, the word task force, translates into something else, So the other question, whatever was required by CEC from us, Chief Election, or by the Election Commission, the relevant quarters showed their inability to provide the army for manning the polling stations and providing the funds. On basis of those two and other reasons also, decision was made by Election Commission. It's a constitutional body. They are independent to make their decision. And I think the elections have been postponed and the new date has also been announced. So I just heard that PTI is going to challenge this decision of Election Commission to postpone the elections. So it now falls in the ambit of judiciary to decide this question. So we'll rest our case, and obviously the opposition also will defend that. We'll defend the Election Commission, will defend their and obviously the federal government.
Sir,
I'll come back.
from NPR. PTM has always demanded that the establishment should be within its domain. And there are critics who believe that in Pakistan, from Zaki to Nawaz Sharif and Nawaz Sharif to Imran Khan, all politicians have been planted in the nursery of GHQ and then they had fallen out. And now PTI is also demanding that intelligence agencies establishment should be in their constitutional limits. Don't you think that this is an opportunity for political forces to sit and at least decide that, these, whether it is establishment or GHQ, they should be kept in their constitutional limits? Don't you think that I'm in total agreement with you. I have absolutely no difference of opinion on this issue. But as I said earlier, we are faced with problems, multiple problems, because of our own faults. We are not blaming any Beruni Sazish for that. These are our own mistakes. Over the years, as we have just mentioned, the military takeovers and abrogation of constitutions. All these things
it is our collective responsibility and liability to sort out these things. That is why I said that there should be a comprehensive dialogue to sort out these things. I'm with you on this issue, 100%. There must be a transactional dialogue will not serve any purpose. A comprehensive, the ruling elite of this country, the components of power structure in this country, the judiciary, the politicians, the legislature, the executive, our defense establishment, media, the big business, people who are privileged. They can manipulate the system, they have the power to manipulate the system, all these components, They must sit together for the sake of peace and harmony in this country and establishing something which you are asking for. That put to an end this trespassing of territory by different components of power. Am I clear?
Trespassing.
Yes, please.
So you raised you said yourself the security situation is not ideal and depends the decision of the election commission to defer the elections in the two provinces. My question is, how do you guarantee that the security situation will become better in October and the election commission will not cite similar reasons to further postpone the elections?
I hope not, I cannot guarantee anything, that in 4 months or 5 months down the line, the situation will be much better and Pakistan will be, peaceful and there will be no, I hope, I pray that happens, But let me clear, there is a fear that if, like in Punjab, if the elections are held now, so the framers of our constitution, learning from the experience, they thought that elections should be held on the same day. Because when the elections were held, like in 1977, the elections, provincial assembly elections were held 3 or 2 days later than the national, later than the National Assembly elections. So there were gaps, or the elections were not held for all the provincial assemblies and the National Assembly at the same time. This sort of provisions were added into the constitution to hold elections on the same day, that if there is a provincial assembly, let's assume the Punjab assembly is in power and their elections are not due. So this will ultimately create a situation where Punjab's hegemony will become almost permanent on the rest of the federating units. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So that hegemony will obviously be, will be grudged by other federating units. So that was the spirit when it was decided that these elections should be held on the same date. So there is no manipulation of the elections, and the idea of interim government was introduced, because before that, there were no interim governments. So this whole exercise, I'm not going into. I'm just trying to, not justifying anything or not supporting anything, but I'm just explaining the philosophy behind this concept. The concept was that the manipulation of the election can be eliminated. But if they are held on different dates, in my opinion and our experience over the last 75 years has been that the hegemony of obviously the biggest province will be perpetuated.
Yes, Sophia last. Asim, I'll come after you. First, Sophia.
Just very straightforward. Does the PDM government believe that the best way for Pakistan to get out of turmoil is for timely elections to take place?
Yeah, we do. Short and crisp.
Last question to Asim.
So there is a number of people sitting abroad outside the country, and they are continuously blaming Pakistani institutions and maligning different institutions and saying that they are, like RBG and Pakistani intelligence agencies are involved in torture and other things against a political party. And what do you think, what do you have a strategy to deal with all these people, because some people are Pakistanis and some are dual nationals, so how do you have to deal with them?
I don't want to speculate anything, but if a person who's a Pakistani and he's living abroad and he's attacking Pakistan or Pakistan institutions, different institutions, I think if he wants to oppose the government, or if he wants to oppose the whatever political culture we have in this country, Pakistan is the place to contest that. Sitting in a third country, people do go into exile, you know. People do go into exile. This is very common. It has happened in so many countries in the world, you know. The history is full of examples. But undermining your country of birth, undermining the country which has given you identity, sitting in some foreign land and talking about and most of it which is being said abroad today is a pack of lies, and it is being done on the behest of PTI. It has been funded by PTI. You know what has happened last few days in Washington and London. Pakistan Army and leadership of Pakistan Army was attacked. I think this is the first time in our history that number 1 and number 2 both were appointed to the top positions of Pakistan Army. It has never happened before. Those appointments were also on merit. They were on merit. But this sort of merit was never there or displayed in the appointment of Army Chief and Joint Chief. You know, and maligning a country which is almost perpetually in a situation of war with it, especially when it comes to India, and against terrorism. These are two enemies we have, you know. Everybody knows that we are facing as a result of our effort against Soviet Union in the 1980s and then after 9/11. That is the baggage of history we are carrying. And we are facing even today, the tremors of those days, the things which took place after 9/11 and in the 80s in this region. NATO countries have gone back, America has gone back, but we are still there because it was happening in our neighborhood. So those remnants or those, the effect or the negative fallout of those days is still there. The people are sitting abroad, speaking against our institutions, and speaking against the leadership of Pakistan Army. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. And PTI, it was done in PTI gatherings abroad, in UK and in United States of America. So on one hand, they seek help from Pakistan Army. They get sponsored by them in 2018. Their demonstrations, their dharnas and all that, they were sponsored by them. And when they are not power and those institutions, they want to stay neutral, they want to go back into their constitutional role, so then they attack them, they vilify them. That's not acceptable, you know. Not at all acceptable. Thank you very much.
Sonia?
No.
Yes, Sonia Zeli for Radio France International. You talk about the security situation and the fact that the violence might get worse. Is it possible that martial law can be imposed? We heard about that so much this last month.
I don't think so, that situation. If you look at the history of four army interventions we have had over the last 75 years, those interventions are personally motivated. You have to study the history of these four interventions. Ayub Khan, Yahya Khan, Ziaul Haq, and Musharraf. They were all personally motivated. The situation in those years, 58, 69, 77, and 1999, it never warranted for any intervention. Never warranted. The personal ambitions of those people, these four dictators who abrogated the constitutions, they were personal ambitions. 1999, when Nawaz Sharif was overthrown, there was absolutely, everything was fine. In 1958, the elections were about to be held. Ayub Khan took over. In 1969, elections were about to be held. Yahya Khan took over. In 77, elections were about to be held. And Ziaul Haq took over and postponed the elections forever. So there is no linkage between the violence or civil unrest and takeover of Pakistan army in our history. There is no linkage. So speculating that there will be chaos or there will be civil unrest and army will take over, citing the example of past takeovers were based on personal ambitions and not for any particular situation of law and order in Pakistan.
But we agree that the martial law is made for crisis. The martial law is not based on personal ambitions, right? If a country is in a crisis, the martial law can be imposed, right? This is the purpose of the martial law.
No, there are no such constitutional provisions which will allow takeover by army and imposing martial law. There is no such. The situation, if there is civil unrest, the civil governments must be, they are responsible under the constitution, and they will tackle and if in that process, if they have to call the army in aid of civil power, it is in the constitution. But taking over the country is abrogating the constitution. There is no room for that in our constitution. On four occasions in the past, I've just cited the years also, it was personal ambitions. They were all ambitious people. So
what you're suggesting or predicting that the current military leadership has no personal ambition?
Absolutely. You are absolutely right. They have no personal agenda. Their agenda is for Pakistan, to defend Pakistan. The leadership of Pakistan Army at the moment, their only agenda is to defend Pakistan internally and externally. Thank you very much.